how did you get into this crazy world of investing? Where did it all start?
Well, I think when you're a child and you're the oldest, there's different pressures on you. And quite often the oldest and the youngest are the big entrepreneurs. And I think that spirit of being an entrepreneur, I was the oldest of seven, big family. And I also think that my mother was a nurse that ended up becoming a social worker and politician and for the education system of downtown Toronto. My guardian father, my mentor, was an Anglican priest who was a true scholar. Spoke many languages, played the organ, harpsichord, and so I was steeped in history and social and cultural changes and why history is an important predictor. Just the characters change and behavior of human beings is quite similar. And whereas my mother was all about sciences, and sciences are so important in safety of people. So I was going to be a doctor, and I realized quickly that socialized medicine in Canada was going to cap my income and I'd have debts until I was 50. So I made a switch and went into economics and finance. And I found it very easy after all the pre-med studies I'd taken.
Oh, fantastic. Well, that's quite a segue, isn't it? One is about doing good to the world. And, us bankers, surely we don't get viewed the same ways, I don't think.
No, you have to look at things from three different perspectives at all times.
Okay, right. So, that's a tough one. Seven kids. So you talk about pressure. Your mother's obviously, you talked about being scientific, and you as the eldest, you've got to be there and look after the siblings, don't you? But what sort of pressure did you feel at the time, and did that affect the way that you looked at life?
I think that you learn how to deal with the challenges of being a leader of the oldest, and all the issues of growing up in a family in this inner city. You're highly educated, but you're in an area that's not as educated. You have different motivations, recognizing that at a young age. And I always wanted to be financially independent. Something I just was always, since I realized what light bulb went off when I was a child. And so I pursued that entrepreneurial spirit. I had a newspaper in the area of downtown Toronto, and originally bought it for 17 clients, and I grew it to 270. And I learned about collection. I learned about people that are good people, but they don't have the money to pay you this week, and how you have to basically fund the accounts of payable and receivables. And so you're 12 years old, and you're just learning about those things. So I think all those lessons just help mature you. But you have to be curious, you have to be ambitious, but you have to have good ethics and values if you're going to be ambitious.
Gee, I'm always intrigued by this because we have a lot of subscribers, and we actually interview some of our subscribers because I'm fascinated by the mentality of the investment mentality, and there's so many things people have in common there. But childhood is a really important period for them. It forms and shapes the way they view the world. And it sounds like it wasn't, you didn't have a lot of money growing up. It wasn't something that was around. Was that need, that drive, that entrepreneurial drive, because you didn't have much money growing up as a kid, or was it you had to prove something else?
I think you just wanted to prove. I just realized, seeing how people that lived in the best of area of Toronto's and best universities, I was always going to the universities as a child. And so I was ambitious to go to school. I was ambitious to go to university, and I like being around these very smart, capable people. And I think that was an important part. I also was asthmatic as a little boy, and I slept in a chair until I was 8. And you don't realize it, but that adversity was great, because to this day I still run, and I'm running probably about a marathon a week. I'm 65.
Good effort.
And I know that if my lungs stay strong, the wheezing doesn't come back. And it allowed me to all of a sudden realize there's competition. And I started competing in sports, and I got letters in high school for many, many different sports. And I think you just don't realize an adversity, if you have good family support and love, that you can find ways to overcome it, compensate for it, etc.
I think that's fantastic. Well, fantastic. You're running a marathon a week, and that's great. But I like those kind of parallels between, sport as a means to actually recognize there is competition out there, that you do have to work that little bit harder. I think that's quite a good point to make. Now talk to me about then university years. Obviously you started, did you finish and complete studying to be a doctor, or did you stop halfway through?
No, I switched halfway through, went into, and I switched universities from McMaster to just outside Toronto in Hamilton, and went to Western University, to Huron College, which is the second oldest Anglican school in college in Canada, and it was basically where the genesis for the University of Western Ontario is today, started at Huron College. So I had a great tradition. It was that Anglican church sort of process of learning and thinking. So I enjoyed that. And I jumped into economics and psychology, behavior psychology. And I found it all very enriching. And I could always apply chemistry. I could apply my studies of biology. And recognize that biological models relate to innovation, and biological models of survivorship relate to entrepreneurs, and then groups and how people behave in group settings was behavioral psychology. And recognizing that, I really enjoyed Western University. And to this day, I've given back a lot to the school. I have a large scholarship for kids, for inner city kids predominantly, that need capital. They have to play a varsity sport and maintain a B average. So it's not just the super A student academically, it's the rounded individual that has those good set of values. And I get beautiful letters back for each year. There's a boy and a girl that gets this money, and if they can stay, they still playing varsity, they're still maintaining that B average, help fund their education. And so that gives me sort of the legacy of giving back to my college, and also where I grew up in downtown, it's called Cabbage Town. Scholarships there for the kids that are good readers, excellent readers, and excel in math, that they get money for books for going to high school.